The Australian dream of suburbia plays an important part in Australian identity. However, this representation gets increasingly complicated with both positive and negative associations. The foundation of Australian dream comes from the concept of Australians wanting the responsibility of owning their home or their own land. To most Australians, it is important to be a part of a community and have a good relationship with your neighbours and people who live near you. So the purpose of this blog is to investigate what the positive and negative effects are of living in suburbia. The Australian population has a dream of owning a home. It has been a dream of many young Australians to have land of their own, that they can do whatever they want on it, when they want on it. So there's no restrictions. It's not just something that they have though. It provides a sense of security for people to have walls and doors around them to keep them safe from everything outside. It's just a general place where they go to kind of feel safe. Owning a home in suburbia is a dream that most Australians have. In the poem Suburban by Dave Malouf, it says, and I'm quoting here, "Safe behind the shady carports, sleeping under the stars of the Commonwealth and nylon gaze." It tells us that people felt safe under the Commonwealth's protection, and there's a feeling of safety in suburban homes. When it says safe behind the shady carports, the poem tries to utilize alliteration here a little bit to get its point across, and that's actually fairly interesting in my opinion. So it's people cherish safety, I guess you could say, and I think suburbia is what offers this to people, and I think that's what he's trying to say. For there a little further in he writes, "Safe behind lawns of bloodwood doors, in houses of glass, no one throws stones." What it means is that the idea of a suburb is fragile, but no one is trying to break the system. It's there, it's solid, no one wants anything to go wrong. As long as no one tries, then nothing will happen. And it also kind of tells us, it pretty much directly tells us that they feel safe behind their doors. And it's how to explain it? It's the idea that they have locking doors. I assume here they mean provides a sense of security for them, and they feel a great need for security in wherever they live. And so, if people can feel that safety, then they'll do anything to get it. And so that's kind of what it means here. The Australian people also seem to cherish mateship. Whenever someone is in trouble, they feel the need to want to help. Even if it's not needed, they just want to help. They want to be there for that person. And so there's this thirst for community that suburbs tend to quench because they bring people into this one area where they can socialize and interact with other people. So in the following story here, I'm going to show you mateship at its finest. And this really does, for me, I think that this is a very, very strong point on mateship and what it is about. In the short story Neighbours by Tim Winton, they planted leeks and onions and cabbages and Brussels sprouts. And I'm about to tell you some quotes from that. Okay, so here's his quote. "They planted leeks, onions, cabbages, Brussels sprouts, and broad beans, and this causes the neighbours to come to the fence and offer advice about spacing, healing, and mulching." Okay, so in this sentence, let's just break this down a little bit. It tells us that, or it doesn't directly tell us, but we can infer here that people from right over the fence, who obviously don't know them that well, have just come over to help them because they've seen that they might be able to offer some good advice here. There's no need for them to help, but they want to help, and that's great. That's what mateship is. And the idea is that even though he didn't specifically ask, could you help me with this? The man from over the fence still came, and he still tried to offer some advice. And so it shows us that they like to help each other, or at least this man likes to help the farmer. And he just feels this need to want to help. And when he's telling him about hilling and mulching and spacing, there's just so much there that can be helpful to someone. I mean, no matter how much you don't think it is at the time, it would be like this massive thing for the neighbor to be able to help the farmer. And that's what mateship's about, helping people and making people be able to get through day-to-day activities without the fear of messing something up. And it really does make a difference to people. There's a dark side to suburbs as well. Because there's such like a high population in a small area, lots of houses look very similar to each other, what I personally hate. It's easy for people to do wrong things, like you'll see in a minute, that usually they get in trouble for, but they can hide in suburbs and nothing can really stop them. They have the brain power of a mouse, and yet they still get away with it. Again, looking at the poem Suburban by David Malouf, and I'm quoting here, "Only the cotton wool in medicine bottles stands between us and the capitals whose cold metallic colours lift us to the stars." Now, I have little idea when it's written like that what it means, but here's what I deconstructed it to somewhat mean. So what it means is people in suburbs who are taking drugs, dealing drugs, overdosing on medical drugs, stuff like that, to make themselves, like, I guess, have something to do. It keeps them occupied. Bad way to keep yourself occupied. And this kind of shows that in suburbs there's nothing to keep you really occupied so that you don't do stupid things like this. And it gets them high and it gets them happy for about an hour. I don't know. I've taken drugs myself. Guess we'll find out. No, but there is a sense that people want to escape the suburbs, I guess, from this. You can kind of see because it says that it takes them to the stars, which I hate to tell you this, stars don't exist in suburbs. You kind of have to go to space to find stars. And the suburbs are used to hide this, like drug taking. It's not good. It will destroy their lives. Everyone knows this. And yet they still get away with it because it's hidden in the suburbs, and no one can really just go up to their house in particular and go, "You're doing drugs," because no one knows which house it is. In the short story Neighbours by Tim Winton, we also see that the indigenous population feels like strangers in their home. We see this when he writes, "When they first moved in, the young couple were wary of the neighbourhood. The street was full of European migrants. It made the newlyweds feel like sojourners in a foreign land." And I probably pronounced that word wrong, by the way, so don't take me for 100%. What they mean is that they don't feel comfortable around all these strangers. They feel like there are more of the invaders than them, and they're not wrong. A sojourner is a person who resides temporarily in a place, so they feel like they don't belong there. So to conclude what I'm trying to get across here, there are good and bad things about suburbs. We have seen that there is a great sense of community and that people are always there. They always want to help. They always want to be there for you. But we've also seen the bad side where people do wrong things, hide in suburbs. They use suburbs to mask themselves, cover their tracks and stuff like that. And this is like the massive bad thing. But it only takes 10% of a population to destroy it for everyone else. And that's kind of what we see here. There wouldn't be many people that do it, but the people that do have to destroy it for everyone else. And that's not fair on anyone else. So kind of, I guess in conclusion, I'd like to say that suburbs are a great part of Australian identity. There are good and bad things to them, but at the same time, the only reason they're a bad thing is because there's a small percentage of people that just think that for some stupid reason it's a good idea to do stupid things. And that's what destroys it for the rest of the population. I don't understand why you would do that for whatever reason. I don't care what your reason is. If you're doing that, you're an idiot, and I strongly believe that. Cool. So, thank you for listening. I'm sure I'd cut myself out of that by like leaning back like this and stuff like that. I'd love an A. Just saying.